And breaking tonight, President Trump back in the United States, arriving within the hour from the G20 summit, where he pledged that North Korea threat will be resolved, quote, one way or the other. The president made the pledge in a meeting with China's president before Mr. Trump left for home today from the G20 summit. Joining me now to talk about the threat and the president's comments is Deputy Assistant Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Dr. Gorka, thanks so much for being with us. Look, I'm not saying anything that you don't already know, and that is that Americans are very concerned about this wackadoo nut job over in North Korea, sending us a birthday present in an attempt to send over an intercontinental ballistic missile with a nuclear tip on it. What are we going to do about that?
Well, the president took the opportunity. He showed leadership again. He met at the G20 with the president of South Korea. He met with Prime Minister Abe of Japan. They sat down. They want to ratchet up the pressure. They're calling the U.S., Japan, and South Korea are going to call for a new UN Security Council resolution against the North. The president also met with Xi Jinping. They reaffirmed their commitment to denuclearize the whole peninsula. So we're taking action. Right now, it's peaceful action, Judge. It's a campaign of peaceful pressure. We're going to see if it works. But if it doesn't work, there are other options. And the president has been clear. This is a grave escalation.
Has the president given up on China helping us out?
No, I think the meeting today was part and parcel of trying to get back on track, that kind of spirit that came out of the Mar-a-Lago summit, whereby China has more capacity to pressure in the non-kinetic domain its neighbor than any other nation in the world. But the president was clear. He was disappointed with what came after those commitments. Right. So we're going to give it one more try, but all the options are on the table. And look what the president signaled already, whether it's the Moab bomb in Afghanistan, whether it's the 59 cruise missiles in Syria. We understand, and this president understands, that force is always an option in statecraft. And
in fact, we just sent two U.S. bombers that were flying near the demilitarized zone with South Korean and Japanese jets on a training mission. That's pretty loud and clear, and I doubt that China would want Japan to have a nuclear weapon, but I can't imagine that that isn't on the table in terms of at least protecting our interests.
Well, China has looked at North Korea for decades, for more than a half century now, as this kind of buffer between itself and other nations like South Korea. But at some point, there has to be a realization, just how much are you willing to pay for that buffer if it creates instability, if it's in flagrant disregard of numerous Security Council resolutions on weapons of mass destruction, on rocket technology, on ballistic testing. That buffer becomes a danger to China as well. And that's the message that has to be understood. And that's what the message that the president's going to be giving to everybody.
Well, without getting into this, I seem to recall that there were some cyber attacks that prevented North Korea from accomplishing some of their goals. So cyber warfare is certainly on the table as well.
If you understand how to rudder the ship of state, then you don't just talk non-kinetic, you don't just use diplomacy. That's the last 8 years. That's the empty rhetoric of leading from behind. This president, in just a scant 24 weeks, has shown the world he understands how force has to back up diplomacy. But between peace and war, as you said, there's a massive scale of other options. And we're not going to comment on live television, even with our friends, about what we do or do not do in the cyber domain, but there are lots of tools. We are a hyperpower, Judge. We're not a superpower, we are a hyperpower, and we have lots of things we can do, covert and otherwise.
And you know, when I interviewed General Kelly about a month ago, he said that there is no doubt in his mind that within the first 4 years of the Trump administration, that Kim Jong-un will have the capacity, if he's not already in a position of having that capacity.
Look, the point is, this president is not a president you want to test. This isn't a man who's apologetic for who we are. Look at the Warsaw speech. Look at what he stands for. We are reinvigorating America. And that means standing up for our values, and it means protecting our friends and our partners. And it's a very, very bad idea to test Donald J. Trump.
Well said. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, thanks so much for joining us again tonight.
Thanks, Judge.
All right, we've heard from a former congressman. So what does a current lawmaker think of President Trump's trip? Congressman Ron DeSantis is here live coming up. But next, it's Tommy time. Tommy Lahren is standing by live to talk about the Trump trip, the meeting with Putin, and so much more. She's next. And later, it all started with my trip to the inauguration. Tonight, the best of street justice of the first half of 2017. Stay with us as justice rolls on.
A couple of years ago, I went back home and I had a long beer, and I was stopped at the airport. Well, not really stopped.
All right, you were stopped. You were questioned. Did they let you through?
They did.
Okay, let's get over it. What now?